The Mr. Olympia title represents the pinnacle of bodybuilding excellence, but not every champion has brought a physique worthy of that legendary status. Whether it was due to poor conditioning, torn muscle groups, or simply not meeting the high standards set by previous winners, these champions make our list for missing the mark. Remember, every athlete here is still among the elite, but some victories left fans and judges scratching their heads. Let's count down the most debated and least impressive physiques to ever take home the Sandow Trophy. In 10th place, meaning the best in our list of the worst winning physiques, is Brandon Curry at the 2019 Mr. Olympia. This year's Mr. Olympia was a poor one, as Sean Roden and Phil Heath, the top two from the previous year, were both absent, along with another favorite, Big Ramy. This resulted in the weakest lineup in years, and Brandon Curry was there to capitalize, presenting a nice and full physique with a very complete upper body. However, he had very poor conditioning and arguably the weakest lower body in modern Mr. Olympia history. Many consider the third place finisher, Olympia debutant Hadi Choopan, to be the uncrowned 2019 Mr. Olympia. In 9th place, we have Derek Lunsford, the 2023 Mr. Olympia, another controversial win against the same Hadi Choopan, who was the reigning champion at the time. Derek had one of the most impressive backs in Mr. Olympia history on that stage, but his conditioning and details from the front, along with his lacking chest development and quad sweeps, were all criticisms fans pointed out as not being worthy of the Mr. Olympia title. Speculations about his lat dance and his poor midsection compared to Hadi Choopan made Derek's 2023 win one of the most controversial of all time. In 8th place, we have Arnold Schwarzenegger at the 1980 Mr. Olympia. This pick might be debatable, as some of you would think the legend himself should never be on such a list, while others might even put this one in first place. After retiring from competitive bodybuilding in 1975 to pursue Hollywood, Arnold made a surprising comeback in 1980 and won the show, presenting his weakest version ever on the Olympia stage. While his win is debatable, he was still one of the best physiques on that stage that day. Mike Mensa remains the uncrowned 1980 Mr. Olympia, although the comparison is more about Arnold's past versions than this being truly a bad physique. In 7th place, we have another of the sport's biggest legends, Ronnie Coleman, with his 2002 Mr. Olympia win. In 2002, Ronnie Coleman won his 5th Mr. Olympia title in a row. After being criticized the year prior for coming in too bloated, Ronnie aimed to come in dry in 2002, but he ended up looking downsized everywhere except his midsection, which remained an issue from the previous year. His biggest threat, Jay Cutler, sat out that year, and the competition didn't rise to dethrone Ronnie, except for perhaps the 5th place finisher Gunther Schlierkamp, who actually beat Ronnie Coleman a few weeks later at the GNC Show of Strength, marking Ronnie's only defeat between 1998 and 2006. In 6th place, we have the 1982 Mr. Olympia, Chris Dickerson. Considered by many to be the least impressive Mr. Olympia winner ever, this was his only win in his career. He was coming off 2 consecutive second-place finishes in 1980 and 1981 during one of the most controversial periods in the sport's history. Despite being a well-rounded bodybuilder, Chris lacked any eye-catching wow factor and had a very glaring weakness in those pointy elbows. In 5th place, we have Jay Cutler at the 2007 Mr. Olympia. Many of you might expect this to be higher on the list, but let me clarify. This is indeed one of the most controversial wins in Mr. Olympia history, not only because of Jay's poor physique, but also because of the runner-up's great shape that year, Victor Martinez. Even though Jay was off, I still believe there are 4 worse Mr. Olympia winning physiques. In 2007, Jay Cutler entered the Olympia as the champion after defeating Ronnie in 2006, but he came in downsized, flat and watery, especially from the back. In fourth place, we have Phil Heath at the 2014 Mr. Olympia. By 2014, Phil Heath was a three-time Mr. Olympia, and in all three previous shows, he brought physiques that deserved mentions in a Best Olympia Physiques list. However, in 2014, his hernia became a problem and his midsection looked really bad. In the prejudging, he lost control of his abs, his stomach was bloated, and his herniated belly button was distracting. Fortunately for Phil, his biggest threat, Kai Green, also had some stomach distension, but it wasn't as bad as Phil's. This was the closest Kai Green came to winning the Sandow, and also marked his last appearance on the Olympia stage. In third place, we have Dorian Yates at the 1994 Mr. Olympia. After shocking the bodybuilding world in 1993 with his physique, expectations were sky high in 1994. However, a few weeks before the Olympia, he suffered a severe biceps tear, jeopardizing his career. From then on, he always had half a bicep on his left arm. Besides this glaring weakness, he came in bloated and watery during the prejudging, making 1994 one of the most controversial wins in history. The runner-up Sean Ray was basically flawless that year, though he gave up significant size to Dorian as a smaller bodybuilder. In second place, we have Dorian Yates at the 1997 Mr. Olympia. If 1994 was controversial, having half a bicep and a bloated stomach, by 1997 Dorian had torn his shoulder, triceps and quad on top of that. Dorian himself has stated that he expected something to snap during posing. It was that bad. Arguably the most controversial Mr. Olympia win, at least in modern history, Dorian managed to win allegedly by securing more mandatories against second-place finisher Nasser El Sonbati. Dorian was indeed strong in 4 out of the 7 mandatories at the time, but his look in the other 3 should probably have placed him lower than second that year. Before we unveil my number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions. Phil Heath at the 2017 Mr. Olympia with the same gut issue as in 2014, Ronnie Coleman in 2001 with a bloated stomach and watery look in the prejudging, Big Ramy in 2021 with a melted back and poor conditioning, Lee Haney's 1990 Olympia look, where all athletes were drug tested, likely the reason for his modest appearance, and every version of Frank Zane, who looked like a Greek statue but gave up too much size against competitors like Robbie Robinson or Mike Mentzer. In first place of our list of the worst Mr. Olympia winning physiques, we have Franco Columbo in 1981. Franco won his first Olympia title back in 1976 and retired from bodybuilding to pursue other activities like powerlifting. After seeing his best friend Arnold make a successful Mr. Olympia comeback in 1980, Franco decided to try his luck in 1981. But unlike Arnold, who still looked decent, though not as good as before, Franco was a total wreck. His legs were the worst on that entire stage, having suffered a serious injury during his powerlifting years, which left them downsized and soft. This was especially evident as he competed against Tom Platz, who had some of the best quads in the sport's history. Franco's arms were never a strong point and he had a blocky physique. All of these factors make his 1981 win the worst Mr. Olympia winning physique on our list today. Remember, every Mr. Olympia winner is among the best, but some wins were more controversial than others. If you enjoyed the video, hit like, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss future content. Let me know in the comments who you think should have made the list or if you agree with my picks. See you next time.